there's no way to christen a new ballpark without having the commissioner of baseball join you, and we are delighted to have Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, joining us up here in our Fox Sports booth. Mr. Commissioner, welcome to Atlanta and welcome to SunTrust Park.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. This is a fantastic new facility, the ballpark itself, and the development adjacent to it is really unlike anything we've ever seen in baseball.
Mr. Commissioner, in your tenure already, you've shown that you're progressive, you're forward thinking, you're willing to listen to new ideas. I'm curious to what you first thought when you heard the Braves were talking about building a new ballpark.
Well, you know, I came down here for the groundbreaking, and I looked at the piece of land. I looked at Terry McGurk, the CEO of the Braves, and said, what exactly are you doing here? You know, I mean, it's you got 60 acres. What are we thinking here? And it really is phenomenal what they've accomplished. You know, our fans come out 81 times a year, and there's so many entertainment alternatives available out there when you have a great ballpark like this and all the adjacent amenities. It just is great for the fans.
Is this a blueprint for future development, you think, with other ballparks?
I really do think it is. You know, the generation that we're attracting to the game, the millennial generation, loves the coming and going aspect. In other words, come early, you know, maybe have dinner before you get in the ballpark, stay late, and this kind of a setup is perfect for that.
What's your favorite feature of SunTrust Park? You've been here a couple of hours. What sticks out in your mind?
Well, you know, this is shameless commercialism, but I like the Chick-fil-A cow the best. I really do. I mean, I shouldn't say that, I don't think, on the air, but I really do like it.
Paul Bird, one of our sideline reporters, was out there earlier. He said it's never a good idea to go stand under a large cow.
Yeah, that's right.
He said in this case it's okay.
That's right. No, actually, I'm kidding about the cow. What I think I actually like the best is the tiered chop house. Below the chop, the regular, and then the top of the chop. Just a really clever setup, and particularly the lowest level, a great view of the ball game.
Well, you've already had a momentous spring, obviously being here with the Braves on opening night. Let's talk about the WBC, maybe the most exciting World Baseball Classic in the event's history, with the U.S. coming out on top. You had to be thrilled about that.
Yeah, we were very excited about it. You know, the event got traction in Asia really before it did here. The U.S. victory, the Dominican-U.S. game in Miami in particular, just really great nights for the event.
There's the first double play in SunTrust Park history off the bat of Hunter Renfroe.
Good turn by Brandon, too, getting taken out down there.
It's very interesting about the WBC. Our broadcast audience was actually a little different in terms of the demographic makeup than what we get during the regular season, which is of great interest to us. You know, much greater engagement by Latino fans and a younger fan base, interestingly, than we get in our normal broadcast.
And I know baseball is really seeking the internationalization of our game. We take it for granted that there are so many other foreign players speaking as American in our game. As Eric Ibar bats and is greeted by his former teammate Julio Teheran. He just got drilled.
Well, the other night Brandon Phillips got hit by his former teammate, and he looked at it and Australian said, "I know you still love me."
Well, the WBC is really important to our internationalization efforts. I saw games in Seoul and in Tokyo, and the atmosphere in those ballparks really makes you understand that we have something in the WBC, that we need to build on it as we continue to make an effort to internationalize the game.
This is Austin Hedges, young catcher for the Padres, who started the year 0 for 24 at the plate. He's currently 1 for his first 27 at the plate, and he takes a strike.
Well, just as recently as a couple of days ago, Mr. Commissioner, Christian Yelich told me it was the most fun he's ever had playing baseball, playing for the U.S. team.
Wait, I give Jim Leland a ton of credit. You know, he got that group of, you know, really established major league players together, and they bonded as a team, and they really performed, you know, in a way that was exemplary for Jim. Hats off to him on that.
Another strike to Hedges. It's quickly 0-2. Well, I love the internationalization part of it. Personally, if baseball ever decides to expand, Joe and I decided to volunteer for the Barcelona, London, Madrid, and Paris teams if you have an opening.
Well, you know, you laugh about that. We would really like to play in Europe for the first time, and we'd like to play regular season games there. We have a lot of interest. Broadcast agreements where people are watching the game. We have a pretty successful fashion business. You know, our hats and sell.
Really?
You know,
Good.
it's more a fashion business than a sports business. But we think it's important to take the game there live, and we're hoping 2018, 2019 we'll do that.
Oh, that'd be great. 1-2 pitch. And Hedges pops it up on a play. And that seems to make sense because you think of the Netherlands team, for example, in the WBC. A lot of their players are from Curacao.
Right.
But a lot of their pitchers are actually in Holland or the Netherlands.
Right. The Netherlands has some baseball being played. There's some good quality baseball played in Italy. And I do think it's important as you think about the next generation of technology. Things like virtual reality. You can't sell people virtual baseball if they don't know what the real thing is. And so you have to take the game live to other parts of the world.
Ibar goes, and a shot into center field is going to drop in for a hit. And the Padres have runners at first and third. A 2-out hit by the catcher Austin Hedges, and that'll bring up Julius Chassin with 2 aboard here in the top of the second.
Our own Dale Murphy made a trip down to Brazil a couple of years ago and conducted some clinics down there, and he came back raving about Brazil because the population is so enormous, and he said there's not enough places for guys to play soccer.
Right.
So baseball is kind of an emerging sport in Brazil too, which is exciting.
Well, you know, some of the teams that performed well in the WBC were surprising. I saw the Israeli team play and beat Korea in Seoul, and Barry Weinberg used to be the trainer for the Cardinals, told me the night before, he said, you got to watch this team, they can play.
Really?
Yeah, you know, and but you know, Dale was part of a program that's really important to us that takes advantage of a huge asset for baseball. Our former players are always happy to engage both in our youth efforts and our internationalization efforts, and that trip that Dale went on was part of our ambassador program, really crucial to growing the game, teaching the game around the world.
Julio ahead of Chassin, no balls, 2 strikes. We're visiting with the Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred, on opening night of SunTrust Park. And we'd love to keep you for another half inning if you wouldn't mind.
I'll stay as long as you want me to stay. How about
great.
that?
First the pitch from Julio. And it's a slow roller. That's trouble. Tehran's got one play to first, and not in time. It's an infield hit for Julius Chassin. Ibar scores the first run of the game for San Diego, and it's 2-1.
Isn't that the way you hit a guy, and all of a sudden it opens up the door for a guy that's 1 for 27 to get a hit, and for Chassin to get a swinging bunt hit. Cost him a run. First run he's given up, earned run he's given up this year. Definitely safe.
And no need for replay, Mr. Commissioner.
There you go. Move that game along, right?
Well, we're going to get to that next half inning as Manuel Margot stands in. He jumped on a fastball and flied out to center to start things off for the Padres. Mentioned he came over from the Red Sox, who signed him as a 16-year-old kid for $800,000. And when San Diego decided to trade away some of their high-priced veterans, Margot came back in the deal that sent Craig Kimbrell to the Red Sox. And as we said, 3 homers, 2 of them leadoff homers, and this one's ripped toward right field. Markakis dives, can't get it. Ball is down, a run is in. First and third for the Padres with 2 outs, and it's tied up.
That's already 6 RBIs for Margot.
He can hit.
Oh, almost. Great effort by Nick, and a good job just to keep the ball in front of him too.
Well, you may get a longer half inning than you were planning on.
So here's Jankowski. I know something else you and Major League Baseball, Rob, are trying to do, and that's promote the young stars in the game.
Working really hard at it. The campaign that we kicked off at the beginning of the season, this season on baseball, features a lot of the great young players. We brought back the Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo pairing in that institutional ads. And
you got it. Wow. Margot thrown out trying to steal second base. The Padres might take a look at this one. A very close play, but Flowers throws out the San Diego center fielder. And for the moment, that's going to end the inning. And it looks like he got him not once, but twice. So no appeal from the Padres. We settle for a 2-2 tie, and we'll continue with Commissioner Rob Manfred in a moment.
Outfielder that brings to the bottom of the second, the catcher, number 25, Tyler Flowers.
April in the ATL rolls on here at SunTrust Park. 3 teams over 30 days with the Braves, Hawks, and Atlanta United all month long. Presented by Cook's Pest Control. 2-2 in the second. Braves got 2 in the opening inning. San Diego got a hit batsman and 3 consecutive singles to get it tied, with Eric Ibar scoring the first Padres run after he was hit by a Tehran pitch.
Mr. Commissioner, is there any talk or thought of realignment of any kind?
We have a competition committee and a strategy committee that are talking about all of the big issues in the game, and realignment is one that I do think we have to think about. You know, we have a very difficult travel schedule.
We'll vouch for that.
Realignment could help with that. And, you know, the other place that it helps is, you know, early in the playoffs, we have those 4-game days, and they can be very difficult in terms of time slots. You're playing earlier on the West Coast than you want. If you were geographically aligned when you came up through the playoffs, you'd actually have 2 West Coast teams playing each other, which would really help us during the playoffs. So there's some advantages there. You know, on the other side of the coin, you do have franchises that think of themselves, identify, and their fans identify with certain league placements that, you know, we have to be cognizant of.
With that in mind, though, as Tyler Flowers leads off with a hit, would baseball consider not only just geographic realignment, but maybe an economic realignment, where you have the Yankees and Mets playing in the same division, the Dodgers and Angels, the Cubs, White Sox, Cardinals and Kansas City, for example? You know,
I've heard people talk about that. I do believe that we've done such a good job on the competitive balance front that sort of a change is really not necessary. I mean, you see the teams that have won in recent years, Kansas City, you know, Cleveland in the World Series last year. I think we've gotten past a lot of those disparity problems, and I don't see that as a basis for realignment, really.
Jace Peterson, the batter, with 1 out here in the Braves half of the second inning. You and I were talking between innings here about the pace of play discussions that have been going on in baseball.
Yeah, you know, I think about the game on the field with 2 kind of macro highest level thoughts. Number one, we want the entertainment product on the field to be as action-filled and fast-paced as we possibly can make it, number one. And so what do I think about there? I think about the dead moments in the game. There's not much excitement involved in a catcher's 12th mound visit in an inning. Okay, you know, you can
sure,
and I do think people can agree those dead times can come out of the game. And it is also important to think about action in the game. And in that regard, it's important to remember our game has changed a lot in the last 20 years. And if you think about it, most of that change has reduced action on the field. We set records for strikeouts. We set records for home runs. Home runs can be exciting, but it's not an ongoing action play. And our games have gotten longer. So it's important to think about how you should manage that change to make sure that the entertainment value is as high as possible. The last thing I'd say, other sports do it. It's important, you know, you think about the NBA now and the NBA 25 years ago, different game, right? That's a completely different game. And that was a managed change. I think we need to respond to some of the things that have developed naturally in the game to make sure that we preserve baseball for the great game that it's always been.
And for fans, there's a very big but subtle difference. Time of game is not the same thing as pace of game.
Yeah, right? I mean, time of game's largely beyond your control.
Right.
It has to do with how many runs are scored, and there's nothing you can really do to manage that. It's the dead moments that you want to try to control.
2 balls, 2 strikes for Jace Peterson, starting in left tonight for Atlanta. Tyler Flowers at first, and strike 3, got him on the inside corner, and Peterson's retired for the first out.
And you know, you never hear people in the ballpark complain about the length of the game. You know, our ballpark, our in-ballpark experience, you got to remember, we draw 75 million people basically every year, 74, 75. And that's because the experience in a ballpark is so great. And so people, you know, they're entertained. There's things to do. Look at this place. You could do 900 things while you're here in the ballpark.
Exactly.
And so I don't worry about the length so much. It's really just make sure that we have action and that the game moves along.
Julio Teheran, an excellent bunter. Let's see what he can do with 1 on and 1 out in a tie game. I can't imagine how great it must be to be the commissioner, have your signature on the baseball. There are probably a lot of other great perks. One of them had to be getting a chance to shake hands and talk with Henry Aaron.
Well, you know, I've been really lucky because Henry and Commissioner Sealy were such great friends that he was often with us in the postseason before I became commissioner. Since I've been elected, I usually see him once during the World Series and up at Cooperstown. I look forward to both of those opportunities. Today was an extra. Henry is really a special person in the history of the game. He's a treasure for us. And you know, he has that presence about him that's really hard to capture in words.
And for all of us here, not only do we have the pleasure of seeing Mr. Aaron at the ballpark, we get to interact on a daily basis with John Schuerholz, who I would say is having maybe the best 75th birthday year in human history.
Well, I think there's going to be you know, the Braves have had a pretty good run in Cooperstown recently.
Indeed.
And my guess is there's going to be another nice Braves-based celebration up there this year that we're all looking forward to. John has had a phenomenal career in baseball. He's been a great friend to me over the years, and I couldn't be happier for him to be elected.
And we're happy for him, too, to see this through to fruition in this year where he's going into the Hall of Fame, to have SunTrust Park open and all of that, as Chip said. What a year.
Yeah, 2 great, you think about it, you have a wonderful career like John's had, 2 great capstones to that career. You know, Hall of Fame election and a brand new ballpark for your city. It's pretty good.
2 outs for Inciarte, and downstairs. All right, let me ask you a couple of personal questions.
Sure.
Who's your favorite player growing up?
Mickey Mantle.
Mine too.
First game I went to was in August of 1968. It was Mickey's last year. First day they played the Twins. They got beat 3-2, but Mantle hit a home run solo shot from each side of the plate. Last time he ever did it. I only know that because they told me now. I mean, after the fact, right?
Right.
Got good PR people.
Right.
But you know, a truly memorable day.
1 ball, no strikes for Ender Inciarte. The pitch is in for a strike. What's your favorite ballpark food?
Oh, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to ballpark food. I like hot dogs in or out of the ballpark, and I particularly like them in the ballpark. Yeah, it is hard to beat them.
Is it a sandwich? That's maybe the biggest question.
Yeah, I think hot dog not a sandwich in my book. Not a sandwich in my book. It's its own food group.
Where do you go from here? You come to Atlanta, you get to be here for the
I had a busy week this week. I was in Chicago for the ring ceremony on Wednesday night. I was in Baltimore down to see Mr. Angelos yesterday. I'm here tonight, and I'm going back to New York later on. I'll be there through the weekend, and don't travel again till next week.
Ground ball out to second. Tricky hop, but handled, and the flip to Ibarz in time, and that's the inning. Mr. Commissioner, always a treat to have you here in Atlanta.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for all you do for our great game, and don't be a stranger.
Really enjoyed seeing you both. I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred. 2-2 game.